In December 1979, Donald Kelly of America was granted patent 4179633 for a permanent magnet motor design. He comments that apart from it being very difficult to generate sufficient power to mechanically move the stator magnet slightly to achieve continuous rotation, the resulting rate of revolutions is very low. For those reasons, he's opted to move the stator magnet slightly using small DC motors. His design is included here as it is a concept which is easy to understand. The overall idea is not unlike that of Stephen Kundell, who rocks the stator magnets with a solenoid. Donald's objective here is to use small electric current to generate a powerful rotation far greater than would be possible from the electrical current itself, and so produce what is in effect a power multiplication through the use of permanent magnets. A copy of his magnet is attached below at the end of this document. This picture here shows the general arrangement. He has a large disc on a very free-running bearing. The disc is non-magnetic and has 16 magnets attached, projecting over the circumference of the disc. He has two sets of 4 pairs of magnets arranged on a rocker arm and all linked together and driven by a small electric motor. The construction of the motor starts with a reasonably large diameter disc made of non-magnetic material such as plastic. The disc is mounted on a low friction ball bearing so that the disc can spin freely. Next, magnets are mounted at evenly spaced locations around the circumference of the disc. The patent shows 16 of these magnets, and that sounds like a realistic number to me. The magnets are positioned so that they project over the edge of the disc, and all of the outward magnet poles are all the same, presumably all north poles facing outwards. Next comes the construction and mounting of rocker arms with magnets attached to them. The patent shows them like this in this diagram. The red colored dot there is important. It is attached to a fixed stator position which doesn't move relative to anything. The arm that contains the 2 magnets is attached to that rotating point, and it rocks from this position here to that position there. The arrangement is such that it's organized that when it's in this position, the magnet here pushes the magnet on the rotor away. It's a combination of both pull and push, and there is no shielding or anything magnetic other than the rocking motion of those arms. The design is very simple in principle and very straightforward to construct. The pivot of the rocker arm is very important, as the drive of the rotor is caused by the forces between that pivot marked 8 and the rotor magnets. Permanent magnets are room temperature superconductors of the zero-point energy field which spirals through them continuously, causing what we call magnetism, which allows the magnet to support its own weight against gravity, so-called, indefinitely. The direction of the zero-point energy field flow causes a north pole if it spirals in one direction, and a south pole if it spirals in the opposite direction. Donald uses that principle to make his motor work. A south pole on a rocker arm attracts a north pole on the rotor. That causes the rotor disc magnet to move towards the rocker arm magnet. They would crash into each other and stick together if nothing was done about that. So to avoid that, the rocker arm is operated at just the right instant, and that moves the attracting stator magnet out of the way and pushes a repulsing magnet on the rocker arm towards the rotor magnet, pushing the rotor on its way. The rocker arm movement is caused by a simple mechanical linkage shown in the patent like this. You've got 4 rocker arms connected together, each with their own red dot rotor position. That's the pivot point for the arm containing the 2 magnets, and that is operated by a motor here, an electric motor, which he envisaged being driven by a battery which is powered by solar panels, or alternatively just directly by the solar panels themselves if the sun happens to be shining. There is a spring also attached to the string of magnets to induce a good starting position when the system is not actually running and is first switched on. The rocker arms are kept in continuous synchronized movement by the 2 small electric motors marked 13 on the diagram. That provides speed control of the motor. Donald uses solar panel charged batteries to power the small geared electric motors, and the result is a smooth continuous drive of the rotor, which then can be used to drive an alternator to provide electricity for household use, as he could see the need for each household to have its own fuel-less electrical generator. Donald confirms that far less electricity is needed to rock the stator arms than can be generated by the rotational power caused by that rocking motion. The power needed to operate the electric motors is minimal, as the power of the motor is provided by zero-point energy field flowing through the magnets. If the motor is used to power an electrical generator, then the design could be made self-powered by using some of the electrical output to provide the necessary input power to provide the rocking arms. The pattern shows just one layer of the motor, but there can be as many layers as you like, each driving the single output shaft and increasing its power with every layer. It is possible to have a magnet motor which uses only permanent magnets and which has no electrical input at all. For example, John Bedini made one which worked well. He has 4 magnets positioned on the rotor itself and a similar magnet in the stator arrangement. The stator has an iron yoke around the magnet, carrying the magnetic field up around the rotor for some distance. But that does operate. The problem with a simple magnet motor like that is it spins very slowly and it has little power. Generally speaking, permanent magnet motors are very difficult to get going, as we can't see magnetic fields and so don't really know how the fields change and interact with each other. For example, Howard Johnson was awarded patent 4151431 in April 1979 for his excellent magnet motor. It's a fairly complicated design. It's got unevenly spaced permanent magnets on a metal track around the rotor, it's around the stator itself, I should say. The rotor is a circular arrangement which goes outside the stator, and there are specially shaped magnets positioned inside the non-magnetic rotor material. There's a different field at each pointed end of each of the magnets. it's not particularly easy to build something like that because it requires very accurate construction. He then tried to manufacture it and started by building a pre-production prototype. It wouldn't work. His original motor still worked fine, but the new one just would not work. See what happens when you can't see magnetic fields. The problem was simple. Howard built his original motor using wood, which is non-magnetic, but he used aluminium instead of wood for his pre-production prototype, not realizing that aluminium has highly dampening effect on magnetic fields. Contrast that with the magnet motor of Charles Flynn. Charles used electronic shielding to get a strong drive from permanent magnets, and a single dry cell battery gave him a powerful motor running at 20,000 revs per minute. There's a central timing and output shaft, which is the output from the motor, and then there are a series of ring magnets attached to the a series of magnets which are two magnets embedded in a non-magnetic material, with a ring magnet which is part of the stator actually on both sides of the rotor sections here. The disc rotor sections are all attached to the central shaft. There are light emitting diodes and light receiving diodes in the timing section, and a disc with holes in it which lets the light shine through when a hole is between the transmitter and receiver of the lighting system. That is a very effective magnet motor, but the one shown by Donald Kelly is in actual fact a very simple build one yourself style mechanism. It's quite impressive even today, some 40 years later. The patent which he received in 1979 shows the various bit parts of the mechanism, how they are and where they're positioned and operated, and how the mechanism is used to waggle the rotor arms all synchronously together. There's a considerable amount of text in the actual patent itself, but I don't in actual fact think that it tells you very much, or at least it certainly doesn't seem to tell me very much. But that patent is attached to the document which you can download from the information at the start of this video.